Welcome to the League Latest podcast. My name is Jaden Muller and I'm joined by my co-host here, Lachlan Stedman. Hey Steady, how are you going?
Hey guys, I'm good. Welcome to the podcast. Hopefully you enjoy it.
Yeah, I guess it's the inaugural episode, I guess we could call it. The first of hopefully many.
Hopefully.
We'll see. See how it goes. But yeah, how good's footy almost being back, you know?
Oh, it is great. I did look it up a few minutes ago. 350,000 seconds until kickoff, until Thursday night.
Counting down every one of those for that Penrith v Manly clash, I guess. I guess we'll just jump straight into it with that game anyway. We'll start off with the reigning champs. There wasn't too many notable player movements over the off-season. Some key losses with Kurt Catewell. And the outside backs taking a bit of a hit with Matty Burton and Paul Momorowski, two of the main ones that are leaving. How do you think they're going to fill those kind of holes?
Well, it does hurt them obviously, but I feel like with Penrith, a lot of the players have gone up through the system with each other, you know. So I feel like it's a next man up mentality, as they were last year with Burton. But when Burton stepped in, he was brilliant, and then he earned a starting role in the centres. So
yeah, definitely. I think they'll be looking towards their junior development, which has been so good for the last couple of seasons. Isaac Targo, he's looking really dangerous at the moment.
He is.
He looks like a really good talent. I think he'll slot in really well into their back line. They didn't really have any major signings either to fill those holes, but
well, fair enough. They're paying Cleary a fair bit, aren't they?
Yeah, they've done well to retain some of their players. Obviously, that comes at a premium, I guess. But one dude they did bring in, I know you're a big fan of, Sean O'Sullivan. He'll be great depth over Origin, and potentially in round one with Cleary still with a bit of a doubt. I know you wanted to have a little bit more of a chat about Sean O'Sullivan, one of your I guess favourite.
Yeah, one of the guys who's always overlooked. He was good for the Broncos, but there was so many guys there like Dearden. They wanted to give Dearden a shot, and obviously Milford as well, and he just didn't really get a shot. He did against the Sharks though back in 2019 when the baby Broncos, remember that one?
Definitely.
The Sharks. And Sean, he only played 41 minutes, I think.
He did his hammy, I believe, but
as soon as he went off, Broncos just didn't look the same.
They definitely fell apart. I feel like he went into a similar situation there at the Warriors as well.
Yeah.
Wasn't really able to get a crack. And obviously he's going to be behind Luai and Cleary, but he provides some really good depth. He'll definitely get some opportunities over the Origin period.
Well, I mean, if he does fill in round one, it's not like Panthers will just roll over and lose without Cleary, because they were competitive with Luai last year.
They were. They definitely look. It's a big difference. Cleary obviously makes a big difference. You could definitely see that, especially in the trial. They definitely had a lot of players out, and so you can't just put it down to Cleary. But even looking back at last year, without Cleary, they did look a bit scrappy at times, and that was with Luai and Burton in the halves. So that is one thing you'll take away from it.
So you think Manly get up round one?
It definitely depends. Coming in, whether or not Cleary's fit. There were some concerns in the trial game, but you can't take too much out of it. I'm sure they didn't want to go down 36-0 to the Eels, but
more than anything, I think that was the Eels showing what they can do.
The Eels were playing fantastic, and to be fair, the Panthers had Cleary, Yeo, Fisher Harris, Edwards, and a couple of others out, and they're some of their big leaders, especially Fisher Harris and Yeo through the middle. They take so much pressure off the rest of the team. So having all those guys back, hopefully, they should be looking pretty good.
So what's your tip? Penrith or Manly if Cleary plays?
If Cleary's playing, I'm probably got to go with Cleary. It's such a well-rounded team.
Yeah, Penrith.
With Penrith, sorry. Not with Cleary. If Cleary's playing, I'll have to go with Penrith. It's such a well-rounded team. It's really hard to knock. Obviously they've had a bit of losses to some players in the backs, but it's very hard to see them any chance of dropping out of the four. I've got them finishing around second this season.
Me too.
You've got them there as well. It's a quality side. They've been coached well. Ivan Cleary's doing a really good job. So,
Back them round one. Cleary plays. Cleary doesn't play. What do you reckon? They get up or?
if
Tommy Turbo takes over.
I feel like that's the big thing with Manly, who we're just about to move into. But yeah, Tommy Trbojevic is just clearly he's such a good player, but he's so pivotal to I guess their success, especially last season. We saw when he was missing in the early rounds that they
wooden spoon contenders.
Yeah, they were looking.
We did.
Yeah, I had no chance of them making their 8, and then Turbo's came back, and it seemed to all mesh together really nicely. Talking about last season, not too many changes either. They've lost Curtis Sironen. However, he missed most of the season. He only played 5 games. He's gone over to the Super League. Moses Sully, he had some really good impacts throughout the season.
He was out of it as well too, hey?
He was out of favour at the start of the year, I think, but he was really improved. I think that's a good signing for the Dragons. Cade Cust, I guess, is another one that's gone over to the Super League, losing a bit of depth in the halves.
I mean, again, these are guys that are not going to win Manly a premiership. They've still got all their main guys. They're still big chance this year. Manly fans can be happy for once. Yeah,
definitely. They haven't made too many signings either, but one of the signings they've got is young Ethan Bullimore. I think he's one that the Broncos, I guess, let get away there. He's a great signing. He adds a bit of mobility to their pack, and definitely has an opportunity to earn a starting job come round one.
First, 4 to 6 weeks, Olaquadu and
Tapau's going to be out for a little bit now.
And Schuster.
And Schuster's gone for at least first round or 2. So, there's plenty of...
Probably more spot to lose at the start, I guess.
I think he could really hammer down. He could earn himself a starting role for the rest of the season. He could hold that jersey, which I guess coming in, you wouldn't have expected.
It's almost scary as well, running off Tommy Turbo, the speed he's got. Because he was the fastest forward at Brisbane. Yeah,
he can move. Like, if he gets in... He's such a powerful runner, so he's definitely one of those guys. But talking about those injuries, they Manly decided to kind of go almost their full team into the trials, something that some of the other teams also decided to do. It didn't really pay off for Manly. They, obviously with the injuries, they did look a little bit scrappy against the Raiders. I'm not sure if you can just put that down to, trials, just hit out, get that all out of the system.
It's a different game at the end of the day.
Like
the mentality going to the game, like, it matters, but it doesn't.
On that, your coaches are still going to be... They'll say it doesn't matter overly. It obviously doesn't affect the season, but it's like a good training. Coaches won't want you having bad hit-outs. I think Desi Hasler will be good enough to get that scrappiness out of him come round 1. I did really like the look of young Kula and Saab. Bro, they've got some wheels on the outside there.
It's a quick team, isn't it?
It's going to be interesting to see where I guess Kula slots into that back line. I think they're talking centres at the moment because you got Garrick on that other wing I think he's locked that in by far.
Sure. Right, safe.
One of the leading point scorers. I'm sure he'll be up there again this season. Coming back to it, I think Tommy Trbojevic, if he stays healthy...
He's a key, isn't he?
He's obviously the key. I do have some concerns. They're still missing a proper hooker. Like, Lachlan Croker did a great job last year, but I think they're missing a top of the range hooker to steer them around. Is obviously a pivotal position, so I guess we'll see how that plays. But Croker did a great job last year. We'll see how he goes again this year. Where have you got them coming this season?
Manly, I've got them in 4, and it's definitely doable. If Turbo's fit all season, that I think they'll make top 4 quite easily. But if he's injured, then they fall out of the 8, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely an opportunity. I've got them coming 3rd at the moment. Bit tight. They're for me, they're similar to the teams like the Roosters and the Eels. Definitely got that potential to go on and win the premiership. However, I think they'll have little bits of inconsistencies throughout the year that might drop them down the ladder. Come finals time, if they've tuned up, I think they're definitely a chance to go all the way. So you going Panthers or Manly for this one? I think we've already touched on it.
I've got Manly personally. I got Manly by 8, actually.
We got Manly by 8.
I think if Cleary plays, he's not at 100%. I feel like it could be wrong. It's a hot take, but I feel like Tommy Turbo and Manly, I think they'll be raring and they'll upset the Premiers. They got more to play for at the end of the day.
Yeah, early days in the season, it's still, I guess, tuning up a little bit. I can't knock the reigning champs at this stage. I think if Cleary plays, they're going to be too good.
Yeah.
For me, if he's out, Manly are a quality side. They should be able to take advantage of that. But obviously, for me, Cleary's going to be key. I think he'll be good enough to get the win if he's playing.
Yeah.
That brings us to our early Friday night clash. Canberra Raiders v Cronulla Sharks in Canberra, I believe.
Close one, but...
So the Raiders, obviously we just touched on that game against Manly in the trial games, I guess. So we'll keep kicking on there. For me, it's really hard to get on a read on the Raiders this year.
Yeah.
Like, they've had a couple of changes. Obviously, last year they kind of tailed off towards the back end. They had a good start. I'm not really sure. This is one of the teams that I could see making the 8, but then again, I could see finishing towards the bottom. And their hit out against Manly was a pretty prime example of that. First half was quite scrappy, a lot of loose ball. Manly capitalised on that. 1 or 2 intercepts, I think, and Saab picked up a ball and ran the field. So, however, in that second half, they really did look the goods. Jack Whiten, all credit to him. He had a bit of a rough first half, but finished it off with a really good individual try. Really put the foot down in the second half. And the whole Raiders team seemed to click together when he was playing well. Like, I think he's obviously the key, as he's one of their better players. He showed that a couple of years ago with, I think it was his Dally M season.
Yeah, he was unreal.
Do you want to add anything to that, or?
Yeah, look, when I think of the Raiders, disorganised comes to mind. I think it's been like that for a little while. Ricky loves his forwards rotation, and I'm not sure how well it's worked. I don't know if it's the go. But it just seems like they were disorganised, especially now they've lost Fogarty and they got Brad Schneider. Yeah,
Brad Schneider's the young one, and we'll touch on him in a second. I just wanted to go back to that point on the forwards. They have lost a fair few of those middles this season. So Ryan James, Havili, Sia Soliola to retirement, Dynamis Louis also moved on. But they do have a lot of young players coming through. Like, they've showed that over the last couple of seasons. They've been very deep in there, especially their middle forwards. But yeah, I think that's something they can take on going through. The other loss, obviously mid-season last year, was George Williams. Left them a little bit struggling for a half. I think Frawley and Sam Williams covered that for most of the year. Obviously bringing in Fogarty to fill that hole this season. Unfortunately, with his injury, he's going to be sidelined for around 3 months. And Ricky's tipped the young Brad Schneider to fill in and
see how he goes.
Yeah, from what I've seen, he looks like his game really suits the modern style of footy. He does all the basics really well, so he could be someone who again could hold the jersey if he plays well enough, which would be really unfortunate for Fogarty. He's found himself in a couple of tough situations. But yeah, Fogarty's a class act. I wouldn't be surprised to see him come straight back in the side in 3 months' time. Yeah. Some other key decisions, it seems to be the backs for the Raiders at the moment. Sounds like Chance Nickel-Clockstad's got the fullback jersey.
Yeah, Savage into centres.
Yeah, where does that leave Savage? You've got, for me, has Sebastian Chris done enough to keep his centre spot from last year?
I think the promise that Savage is showing, especially after getting the call from Billy saying, train like you're going to be an Origin player, I think Savage has got the highest ceiling and he's got the wheels, I reckon.
Yes,
he would take the
Savage
spot.
Obviously was a bit of a track star coming through. Obviously great talent coming through high school and all that. So, so at the moment I've got Chance Nickel-Clockstad at fullback. I think Croker's got to keep his spot in the centres. I did hear something that he might be pushed to the bench, which I can't see happening.
No chance.
He's like the lifeblood of Canberra. He's been down there for so long. He's such a good competitor. I've got Chris. I think he did enough last season to keep his spot in the centres. He looked good at times. And Kotrick, for me, comes back on the other wing. That leaves... Rapana's obviously out with suspension for a couple of weeks. But they got Tomoko, Semi Valme, I believe, there as well. I think they'll all be, with Savage, will be fighting out for that last wing spot.
Good depth.
Yeah, I think it'll bring out the best in all of them, to be honest. But yeah, it will be obviously interesting when Rapana comes back, if he comes onto that wing, or if Savage or one of the other blokes has definitely done enough. But yeah, he looked good in the trials. Every opportunity he's got with, I guess, Nickel Clockstad's been out with COVID. It's affected a bit of the Raiders over the last couple of weeks. But yeah.
Good to go round one.
Yeah, they're all good to go round one. I guess the only other one is a bit of a question mark. Who's the starting hooker? You got Starling or Hodgson?
Oh, look, it has to be Starling. Like, a couple of years ago, Hodgson was definitely their guy, so consistent, Andrew McCulloch-like. But Starling, he came off the bench and he just took the Raiders up a level. He's got the speed and he's got the electricity and he just brings so much to the side. They could almost do that again though, have Hodgson starting and Starling off the bench as a weapon.
Yeah,
he's almost wasted on the bench.
Yeah, he does bring a lot of energy into the game. We saw that with Hodgson. It's had a couple of injuries over the last couple of years. Starling's come in and done a really good job. So, and obviously Hodgson's moving on at the end of the year. I think he's going to the Eels. It'll be, I guess, seeing how the season goes, whether they want to move Starling onto the starting position, like groom him a little bit more, give him a bit more opportunity moving into next year. But yeah, I guess it'll come down to Ricky at the end of the day. You never quite know.
You can't pick it.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, I'm having a hard time getting a read on the Raiders. Like, you're looking through that, there's plenty of question marks for me. It wouldn't surprise me if they made the 8, but at the moment I've got them finishing around 10th.
Fair.
What about you?
Oh, I've got the Raiders in 12th. I just feel like without Fogarty there, I think it'll take them a long time to find where they're at, and I feel like that'll hinder them, and I feel like it'll be a lost season after a few months.
Yeah, and
it's tough, but
yeah, definitely they've got a tough game to start with the Sharks.
Hines, how good was Hines in the trial?
Oh, he is electric. That edge with Nikora running some lines, that is going to be deadly. I think Nikora is going to be one of the big players to benefit this season.
Cheeky Supercoach pod.
Oh, definitely for those Supercoach lovers. Get on Nikora. But he just looks like such a. I think he's going to be primed if he's on that edge with Hines. He runs a really good line, and Hines has got silky hands. So I think it'll bring a lot to that attack, that edge. Some of the other big signings, Finucane, obviously, I think he'll be massive for the leadership around the Sharks. He'll be a big, change in the mentality a lot of those players have. I heard somewhere like his biggest impact's going to be, Monday through Thursday, that those training sessions, he's going to bring out the best in other players. As much as he's going to do on the field, he's going to be a good voice for them to have.
He's a great signing.
Yeah. I think
so good for the Storm as well.
Fitzgibbon's done a really good job coming in and making some of those decisions, bringing some guys in. They've done a really good job recruiting another one of those guys. Another one of those guys is Cam McInnes, obviously injured to start the season, but and coming off an ACL last year. Spent a lot of time out. But he's a quality player.
He's a great player.
Gives you some flexibility. You've got young Blake Brayley in at hooker. I'm not sure if he'll keep that. I believe McInnes goes straight into hooker, slots in there.
Don't think he plays lock or second.
Well, you got Finucane there, so I think McInnes they'll have that versatility to be able to move him around.
Yeah, he can play.
Brayley will likely get that spot on the bench for me once he's back. But, Brayley will have first opportunity out, I guess. One of the other guys that they've brought in who looks like he'll get a starting spot at this stage or maybe not a starting spot, he's fighting for a starting spot, Matt Ikuvalu from the Roosters. He looked good.
Yeah, he's a good player.
He's obviously been playing on the wing the last couple of seasons. I think he's getting a bit of a run in the centres. So is Ronaldo. I think they're just trying to still work out what's the best combination on those edges are. Especially, they've lost a couple of guys, Will Chambers, Dugan.
Yeah,
they were
a bit of experience there.
Bit of experience out wide. So, and yeah, obviously moving on from some new halves, losing Townsend and Johnson, or Townsend midway through the year, and Johnson off to the Warriors. There's going to be a lot of new combinations.
Yeah.
But judging from their trial against the Bulldogs on the weekend, like they look like they're one of the teams that had, I would say, the perfect hit out. That's exactly what Fitzgibbon would have wanted to see from his team.
For sure.
And you can really see the effect that he's had on their game plan and how they're playing the game.
Luke Metcalf is a guy I really like. I hope he gets to go this year. It'll be hard for him to crack into the team, but he's a good footy player. He was so good last year.
Yeah, that's one thing that's definitely stood out to me is the Sharks have actually got a lot of depth coming through. Metcalf in particular, he does look like a great player. It'll be interesting to see some of those guys get a bit of a run. Maybe not round one, probably a couple of weeks into the season.
Might have to be origin period for a few of them.
Yeah, they've obviously got some guys. They've lost Wade Graham already for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, how bad's that?
Yeah, he's obviously coming back. I think he had a head knock that finished his season last year. Coming back, he's a big loss. Like he's so big for the team, but he'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. So I guess it's better to have that injury kind of trial game, have that week off. And have that extra recovery instead of missing long parts of the season.
Yeah, he's out for a little bit though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. For me, Trindle's gonna partner Hines in the halves. There is talk that I think when Moylan comes back that he's an opportunity to wear the 6, Hines in the 7. But I think Trindle looked too good on the weekend or last weekend. Sorry. But yeah. They look like a really good side all around.
Yeah.
I know it was against the Bulldogs in a trial game, but you take what you can get.
Yeah, you do.
You definitely take the positives out.
You have to.
They're one of the teams you've got to be pretty optimistic about this year.
Yeah. Big jump this year, I think, into the 8th.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely.
Where you got them?
This one's hard because I have them in 7th, but it's just because I feel there's a lot of teams in contention this season. Like.
Between like the 6 and the 10, or even 6 and 12.
Last year, I couldn't see a team probably outside the 5, like with the Roosters being 5. Even then, they probably got knocked up too much. So it was really only top 4 teams I think were in contention. This season, I could see probably 7 teams, Sharks being probably the last of them, that I think could really have a shot at the premiership if everything falls into place. But as I said, I've got them in 7th at the moment.
Just depend how they go.
Yeah, if everything clicks, they could definitely be pushing around the 4. I just couldn't find a spot above 7th for them.
It's hard. So many quality teams this season.
I think it's going to be really good for the competition.
Yeah.
Especially last year, there was a couple of blowouts. I think moving into this year, the talent's been spread around pretty evenly. I think there's a lot of positive signs moving forward. So for me, Sharks are winning this game against the Raiders.
Yeah. I
know it's in Canberra and the Raiders will get up for it, but Sharks just looking too good at the moment, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Coming in off some good preseason form.
Off Hines, I think that'll be too good. Like
definitely
by 10, I reckon.
By 10, you've tipped the big win.
That's the 10, yeah.
We got this will be followed by Broncos v Rabbitohs.
Good game. Does Renault play? Does he play?
That's obviously the big one. Obviously, the NRL have just changed their COVID policy a little bit, where it's going to come back down to the teams and whether they're individual doctors to clear players to play after their 7 days of quarantine. Instead of 2 or 3 weeks, it was going to be before that, which ridiculous. I think we can all agree was pretty ridiculous. It's brought it into line with some of the major sports around the world. I know NFL had something pretty similar to what we've got now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be a big in to have Renault playing, I guess.
You just hope he does for the storyline and all the fans. All the Broncos fans at the game.
Oh, and Jai Arrow, he's been ripping into Reynolds all over social media. It's been good to see.
I think it'll be competitive. I think if Renault doesn't play though, Brisbane get blown off the park.
I think Reynolds is going to be I think he's a big in, and it does make Broncos a competitive team this year. They'll be in and around the outside of the 8 for me. When we look at their losses, like Alex Glenn, obviously the captain of his team, so they lose a little bit of leadership. Milford, he wasn't really playing a whole lot last season.
You can write that one off.
Xavier Coates, I guess, I wasn't a big fan of him at the Broncos. I think he's a great signing for the Storm. He's one of those players that you'll see really improve over the next couple of years, but I think he really was struggling in that Broncos side, so...
as were most players, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't...
It was
shambles.
The
last couple of seasons have been... I guess shambles is one way to put it. We've already touched on Bullimore, and Tavita was mid-season exit, I guess.
Mixed feelings. I thought it was a good signing, but after he grabbed the jersey in that trial, I was like, well, back to his old ways.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, discipline is going to be one of those things, but the Broncos have recruited really well. They've filled those gaps.
They have.
Catewell, I think, is a great signing. He didn't have probably the best trial game against the...
It was terrible, to be honest.
Cowboys, but I think that was his first hit out. It was tough conditions up in...
Give him a chance.
Up in Townsville. I think it was... Cairns, I believe. Up there somewhere. North Queensland we'll go with. But yeah, Catewell's a quality player. We saw that last couple of seasons at Penrith. If he gets into any form like that, definitely a big signing for the Broncos. The big question, obviously, it's been all off-season, is who's going to partner Reynolds in the halves. Heading into the preseason, a lot of people were sure it was either going to be Gamble or Kelly. To me, neither of those made a lot of sense. No. They're not really good complements for Reynolds. Like we've seen at the Rabbitohs, Cody Walker, almost a perfect complement for Reynolds' game.
Well, he was.
Yeah,
exactly. He was a lead.
Reynolds was able to take a lot of pressure off Cody, and it really unleashed him.
Let Cody do his thing.
Exactly. So that's, I guess that's one of the things I was looking at. I was probably a bigger fan than most of the Billy Walters signing heading into preseason. I thought he'd been one of the guys similar to Sean O'Sullivan,
Overlooked.
Probably overlooked a fair bit during his career. He looked good down in at the Tigers. Obviously, he had that bad knee injury last season, putting him out. But when he had the opportunities, he was looking like a very solid player. He's looking more and more like he's going to get the starting job alongside Reynolds. He's had some fantastic trial games.
Well, look, personally, I watched the most recent one, and just didn't seem like he was the guy at 7. It was pretty bleak.
I'm Broncos are probably one of the other teams that I'm almost writing off that trial game. They look like they turned up the footy they were trying to play in the wet. Just it wasn't the type of footy they should have been trying to play.
No.
They just didn't look up for the game. He is, I think, with Reynolds there, I think he'd be a great complement to him. If he's not starting, I wouldn't mind him seeing the 14. He does provide that versatility. He has had a bit of a run at 9.
I do like him at 9. I thought he was good at 9 in the first trial or the second trial.
They had that hit out against Wynnum Manly, one of their feeder clubs. He looked, obviously, you'd hope he'd look pretty good against their feeder club. And that second game against the Titans,
I didn't mind him in that.
He wasn't too bad. Personally, this has been my choice. Probably a little bit biased, but young Ezra Mann.
Now, why is that biased, Jaden?
I was lucky. I could say lucky enough. I'd say unfortunate enough. I'm fortunate enough to grow up playing against Ezra for club and school footy, and I've been carved up multiple times. He's one of those guys that you could just tell from a young age. He's been in the Broncos system since he's 13. Just coming up, he's been absolutely an electric talent. He's got a level head. He's got a wicked step. He's got pretty good speed.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good's one way to put it. But yeah, he's a really smart footballer. He's a good playmaker. I think he complements Reynolds the most is where I'm going to.
Absolutely.
I did hear, obviously he's a younger bloke. I think it was Bloke in a Bar. Shout out to Kempy. But I think I saw him talking about this and not wanting to put too much pressure on him. Like,
see, but if you have Reynolds with him, Reynolds is the one taking the pressure. That's why Broncos paid for him. He's that
definitely.
guy.
But I think more coming to the physicality, being a younger bloke, we saw it with what he was saying is we saw it with Walker a bit last year. Sam Walker. He kind of towards the end of the season, he went back to the bench. He missed a couple of games with niggles. But yeah, personally, I think if you're good enough, you're old enough.
Facts, yeah.
Man should definitely be in the conversation moving forward. I think going back to Walker, I was lucky enough to see them both firsthand, I guess. It wouldn't surprise me if I rate Mam just as highly, if not better, as a prospect coming through. That is a pretty hot call.
No, I think it's fair. I think he brings so much more to the team than guys like Gamble. Gamble, like, don't get me wrong, Gamble, Kelly, Walters, they're pretty good players and they bring a fair bit, but I feel like Ezra, with his try scoring ability, he's just top try scorer in the Trust Super Cup last year. Yeah,
and he in 11 games or something, it was
unbelievable.
He scored 2 hat-tricks.
Yeah.
Plenty of line breaks, line break assists. I think we're probably a bit higher on him than most going into the year, but I could definitely see him earning the starting jersey. Maybe not round 1, it's trending that way, but definitely a couple of weeks into the season. But yeah, going back to Walker, I can see both these players, Walker and Mam, being potential future Origin halves.
Pretty lethal combo that.
Obviously, the Broncos, I guess, lost Walker. They didn't really let him walk. Roosters did some good
negotiation. We're
just a better team for Walker, I guess. But yeah, I think that could be a good combination for the Maroons looking forward. Definitely something some Queensland fans should be definitely looking forward to. A little bit biased here, obviously.
Love the Maroons.
But yeah.
8 in a row.
Bringing that up. Yeah, don't worry, we're a Maroons fan as well. Up to Queenslander.
Yeah, be worried if you weren't.
The other one, it's looking more like Corey Pay is going to take the starting job from Turpin.
Well, Turpin's had so many opportunities and he just hasn't taken the role.
Look, I love the intent that Turpin brings, and he does have a couple of really good moments.
Yeah, he does.
Like in the defence, he pushes it up. However, I just don't feel like... I feel like Corey Pay is obviously going to offer a little bit more in attack, a little bit of more subtlety. He's looked really good in the trials, so I can't really fault that decision.
It'll be good to watch.
It wouldn't surprise me if Turpin holds on, gets it round 1, but I think Corey Pay's definitely someone who's coming through. They've been grooming him as a potential starting hooker for a while, since even McCulloch was at the club. Someone I really like.
Yeah, look, I think Broncos this year, they have the squad that can do damage. It'll just depend on if they can do the damage. If they do the damage, they make the 8. I think they make the finals. Maybe not go as far as you'd want your team to go, but I think they can definitely move up. I have them in 9th. It's tough because I think they can make the 8, but I feel like if Reynolds misses a few games, and
there's obviously a lot of teams around that 8th spot.
It's tough.
We were just talking about the Sharks. We think probably 7th. There does feel like there's a bit of a gap between 7th and 8th. But yeah, there's a lot of teams. You'll have the Titans. I guess the Raiders from even earlier. I think the Dragons, they're a bit of a smoky. I think they could be in around the 8. For the Broncos, the key is going to be Reynolds. If he can bring everyone together, stay healthy is a big one. He's had a couple of injury issues over the last couple of years. He's the key for them, for me. But on the other side, for the flip side of this matchup, is a big loss for the Rabbitohs going into round 1. Definitely, it's a bit of a grudge match against his old team if he plays again. with the COVID concerns, but he's just one of a couple of players that they've lost, obviously.
You could tell in the Charity Shield game where the Dragons, they blew the Rabbitohs away. The Rabbits looked like, Cody Walker looked okay, but I just feel like they were missing Reynolds. They were missing that guy.
Yeah, like, this isn't a knock on young Ilias. He played well. He took some pressure off.
Hard to take Reynolds' spot, and he'd be expected to.
Yeah, it's like he looks solid. Like he kicked a 20-40, something that I think only Hector Cheese has done during an actual NRL game. But and that relieved some pressure and I think led to a try. And a couple of minutes later,
he'll improve as the season goes.
So he's definitely had some really good touches, but I think needs to get a little bit more involved. It's harsh, I guess, like we're looking at a trial game.
You have to give him time. And
it's really early on for him. It'll come with time. He looks like a very good player. He'll definitely improve as the year goes on. But as you're saying, that attack down that left edge with Cody Walker,
pretty handy that.
I think AJ is going to be almost a good chance to go back to back after looking at that. He looked dangerous. Cody looked dangerous, and that obviously unlocks the rest of that back line. They did have a couple of changes with the likes of Gagai going out, and they haven't really recruited too much, but I feel like they think they have the
they do
the depth to fill that.
Yeah, they have the tools to make the top four.
Yeah,
they have to play well to make the top four. I have them in 6th.
Yeah, that's the same with where I've got them. They've obviously lost the master coach. I can't believe we haven't mentioned this yet. They've lost Wayno, but Jason Demetrio, he's been an assistant for a while.
He's Wayne 2.0,
well,
isn't he?
He's been under Wayne for more than long enough. He's a good coach. He'll know how to get this team up and going. So I don't have too much concern with that. However, they've had a couple of notable losses. Even Benji, Gagai, Sua.
A lot of experience.
They're losing just those couple of pieces. Despite them making the final last year, I think they're primed for regression. They're one of the teams. I could finish dropping outside of the 4, finish around 6.
Yeah, that's a good call. That. What's a Saturday?
Yeah.
I was
going to say, put your tips in. Broncos or Rabbitohs? Broncos at home?
It's got to be Broncos, I reckon. I feel like if Reynolds plays, they shock everyone, they win by 2.
It is one of those games that I think...
Not bias.
Yeah, no bias at all. I think it will be one of the games the Broncos really want to get up for, because...
They have to.
The
fans will be there.
It does sound weird, but it's a pivotal part. It's really early on, it's first round, but it is a big part of their season. If the Broncos get off to a right foot, they could definitely be a top 8 contender. And the Rabbitohs, obviously moving on from Reynolds, this will be a good opportunity to make a statement. It's a really big matchup. I've got to go with Rabbitohs. I think the Broncos will just take another couple of weeks. Reynolds didn't play any trial games.
No.
He's having general soreness. That's a question mark for me already. And on top of that, he's got obviously COVID-19. It's just another question mark. I think the Rabbitohs will be too good.
Yeah, it is a logical call, that.
Yeah.
Logical call.
I'm tipping safe so far, I think. Moving into Saturday games.
We've got a few blowouts today, I reckon.
Yeah, look, I think it's a really good round of footy. There's a lot of close games. Obviously, the 3 we've had, I think, could go either way in most of them. Obviously, round 1, the opening game of the weekend, 2 of the best teams in the comp. The second game, Raiders, Sharks. They're big unknowns. Obviously, we're going Sharks for that game.
Storyline Friday night.
Big grudge match Friday night at Suncorp, which has just been underwater. Obviously, floods. Shout out to all those doing it tough at the moment. We've been affected a little bit here. We've got a bit of makeshift gear, makeshift table, and
thought this might have been watching. You did find it in the end.
Yeah, we're able to retrieve some stuff, but obviously, Brisbane, down northern New South Wales been hit hard. So shout out to those people doing it tough at the moment. But yeah, we'll move into the Saturday games. First game's Roosters v Knights. Do we want to start with the Roosters?
Yeah, Roosters, they did really well to compete for as long as they did last year with all their injuries. So many. Their captain literally retiring during the year.
Yeah, so both their captains with Friend and Corden gone. So but they're obviously big names. They lost Morris in pretty heartbreaking circumstances. Yeah. And then obviously Josh has also hung up the boot. So they've lost both of those guys. Corden and Friend, you can't understate their value.
To be fair to them though, they do have the blokes coming through. They got Barrels, who's a good hooker, and they got Tupanua.
They've definitely got good players coming through. A lot from what I'm hearing, a lot of people are hit and miss with Verrills. Some players, people really rate him. I've heard others aren't sure if he's going to be their guy moving forward. They've obviously brought in Connor Watson as well, who I think slots straight into the 14. He's just so versatile. Yeah. He's probably the perfect utility. We saw that at the Knights
really good signing.
The last couple of years. Returning to the Roosters, returning to Bondi. I really like that signing. Definitely will give you some impact. Yeah. Be able to fill those holes where necessary. Bringing Momirovski back as well. He's just gone and won a premiership with the Panthers. He's
another.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. The Roosters are one of those teams.
It's a good team with Kiri back.
Kiri's obviously the big one. Yeah. Him coming back into the side, I think. We saw last year before he went down injured. He was so good. I think he's one of the leading try assisters still come the end of the season. I don't have the stats up. I'm not sure if you've done enough research.
I've not done enough research.
Lack of preparation, sorry. But he was just so good last year. I think him partnering with Walker in the halves really be beneficial for Sam Walker, really unlock his potential, I think. We definitely saw Tedesco play a lot more freely with Kiri in the side. Mm-hmm. The Roosters are a really good looking side. They've lost, obviously, as we just said, a lot of experience, a lot of talent. But yeah, Roosters they're such a good system. They're just next man up. Trent Robinson, obviously, he's got them going really well.
Big deal he signed recently too.
Oh yeah. Was it 2027 or something? Through to something
ridiculous.
Another 5 years on top of what he was already there. I think he's clearly one of the best coaches in the comp at the moment.
Easy.
Yeah, no question marks about that.
You think they tear the Knights apart or what? Knights.
I'm pretty down on the Knights this season. I think we'll get to that, but I think Pearce is a big loss for them. But yeah, I've got Roosters top 4 team, probably finishing 3rd for me at the moment. But definitely a team I can see contending for the premiership. If they keep all their players healthy, they've got the pieces there, they've got the coaching staff. They look good. I know their trial, they lost to the Tigers, but I think there was a 10-15 minute period where they were defending on their line and they just didn't look like they were breaking. They forced an error and kind of went away. They were up 8-0 and then they started. They brought off some of their starters and then the Tigers had a chance to put some points on the board. But the starting team for the Roosters, they look really dominant.
It's so strong and it's a great system.
Yeah, the middle of their field just were strong in defence and their outside they just trust each other so well. So I think defence will obviously be a big thing for them moving forward, that mindset. But yeah, I've got them finishing 3rd.
Yeah, I got them winning the minor premiership actually.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot you were really high on the Roosters this season.
I think they're pretty, unless the injuries kill them again, I think Kiri and Teddy, all those gun players can lead them. I think that's on top of the fact that I feel like Penrith, they won't be playing for as much as they were last year. It was a bit of a revenge tour last year, if you know what I mean. But this year they've won, they've kind of succeeded. So they're going to need to find something. I mean, Ivan Cleary will do that. He'll help them find the motivation.
It's always hard to go back to back. It hasn't doesn't happen often. But yeah, so Roosters will definitely be one of those teams up there contending for me. They're going against the Knights in round 1. For me, it's a no-brainer. Roosters to win that one.
Yeah.
Knights, we've already touched briefly on Pearce. He's such a big part of the team. I can't believe they just let him walk so easily. I guess
now they got Clifford and Clune. Do they have anyone else in that house? Because it's pretty bleak.
Well, they've got Kurt Mann. He's going to be playing.
He'll be in the 13 though.
He'll be playing in 13. They lost obviously Blake Green halfway through last year, I believe. Connor Watson was another one, I guess, can slot in there, but we've touched on him already. But yeah, so it'll be a big opportunity for Clune. I think he had some good games there at the Dragons. They obviously struggled a little bit last season. Clifford, similar situation, coming down from Cowboys midway through last year. I am interested to see how they'll go, but I just think they're going to be lacking a little bit of direction this season.
Ponga's a gun, but one player's not going to win your comp, and he's not going to win them games.
Yeah, I do want to talk about Ponga. He's accepted the captaincy. A lot of people tend to believe that he might be something that he's going to re-sign again. I know.
Got his dad coaching the women's team.
Yeah, so the Knights are definitely doing all they can to keep him.
Yeah.
I know Redcliffe, it'd be a massive signing for a team like them to snag him. Something I'm sure they're really looking at right now.
Wayne wants him.
Yeah, clearly, most teams I would say would definitely take Ponga with more than open arms. He's just such a good talent. But yeah, they've added Gagai, he'll be good for them.
He's handy, but
he's returning.
He's not Origin Gagai.
Yeah, we'll see if he can get to Origin Gagai form. He'll carve up. But they've got pieces there. They've got a couple of really good young players coming through as well. I think it's a bit of a rebuild for them at the moment.
Back to square one almost.
Yeah.
I mean, they got Ponga, they got the captain, but they got to build around him.
I don't think we'll quite see them go back to those couple of seasons where they were finished in wooden spoon.
Yeah, that was pretty shocking.
But they're primed for regression for me. Yeah. I think I've got them at 14th, which is probably a bit harsh, but too, no. I can't see where. I can't see too many positives from last season heading into this year.
So many teams made additions, like good additions, made their squad better. But I feel like the Knights are one of the few squads that have just gotten worse. Yeah, it's those teams around the 8 for me are the ones that have been able to. They got a bit of spark in the team.
Bring some new players in to bring that spark, and the Knights, I just think, are going backwards, unfortunately. Yeah. So yeah, for me, it's a no-brainer. Week 1, Roosters. I believe it's at home as well, so just another it's a no-brainer almost.
Second game of Super Saturday, Dragons
v Warriors. We'll start on the Warriors, I guess. We'll just start there. Couple of losses with Roger, obviously RTS. Big one going over to New Zealand Rugby.
Did he go to the Blues, is that?
I believe, Auckland Blues.
He has played a couple games.
He's playing inside centre, I believe, which is a bit of a change up for him.
Is he a gun though?
I'm saying he's going to be playing All Blacks in a couple of months' time. Would not surprise me at all.
Too good not to.
He's such a good talent. Obviously, massive loss for the NRL and rugby league in general.
Yeah, it is.
Would definitely like to see him come back in a couple of years, but
yeah, big shoes to fill for Reece Walsh.
We obviously saw that towards the back end of last year. Walshy getting a bit of an opportunity. He's clearly a talented player. Another one that got away from the Broncos, I guess you could say.
Yeah, a pretty bad loss that one was.
And he's obviously, there's been some rumours swirling around that he's wanting to return to Queensland around family. Obviously the Dolphins would definitely be someone that would be trying to get to him, but I'm pretty sure the Warriors are going to do everything they can to keep him there. He's obviously contracted for another couple of years. He's someone you can probably start building your team around.
And Sean Johnson as well, back in New Zealand.
Sean Johnson coming back, replacing, I guess, Sean O'Sullivan, Townsend, those guys that are leaving. It's the only jersey Johnson should be wearing. It never looked right watching him in a Sharks kit or anything.
Back at home.
Yeah, he suits the team really well. I can't believe he ever left, to be honest. But if he can get back to his
regular self, his old form.
His old self at the Warriors. He'll definitely bring some spark. Yeah. He's always dangerous on the ball. They've also brought in Ash Taylor to compete in the halves. I think he was on a train and trial deal originally.
Crazy how you go from getting paid $1 million a year.
Yeah, he's on those big dollars. Obviously, didn't really work out for the Titans. He obviously had massive reps coming from the Broncos system. Didn't really work out, but from what I'm hearing, he's training really well at the Warriors at the moment.
Training the house down, you could say.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. I guess Warriors, they missed their trial against the Titans due to the
floods.
Yeah, due to the floods and the weather crisis going on. I think they're one of the teams that really did need to, I think, have that hit out. So were the Titans. So that was probably one of the bad games, one of the worst games that could be ruled out. And I think going into that first game,
slow.
they're probably not the strongest squad across the park already, but I think it'll be tough coming out of the gates. They are playing the Dragons, and this is like probably a game that the Warriors have got a really good chance in. I think they've got a pretty good record over the last season or two against the Dragons. They played pretty well. But yeah, I can't see the Warriors making the 8 this season, unfortunately. They do have the potential to be a bit of a smoky, but I've got them finishing in 12th.
Yeah, I got them in 13.
Yeah, so
too many gun teams this year, which is great to see.
It's definitely a lot better to see. Like we've already touched on that, but
at the end of the day, they are the Warriors as well.
Now, so we'll move on to the Dragons, who going into the start of the preseason, a lot of people had round the wooden spoon even. For me, that's not the case. Like they look like they've made some really notable gains. They're young blokes coming through. Amon, Sullivan,
Sloan as well.
Sloan. They look very good over the weekend in that Charity Shield match.
Yeah, they're a great side. I think it's one of the games the Dragons like to lose against the Warriors. They should win. They really should, and I hope they do, because I feel like they have such a good young team, and I think they will win. But they'll have to focus.
They've done a bit of a mini clean out, I guess. Yeah. Obviously, Barbecue Gate last season. They've moved Paul Vaughan on. Clune, we've touched on earlier. Dufty to the Bulldogs. He's fell out of favour. Yeah, seems to never really be clicking with the Dragons, their staff there. Whether that was defensively, because he had some really good touches in attack. McInnes, obviously, you'd say is a big loss.
Yeah,
but
he's a good player.
Obviously missed all last year, filled in by Andrew McCulloch, who I thought did a pretty good job given the situation. But yeah, they've been able to bring in some good players. Jaden Sewer, he's pretty much around that Origin standard. Yep. Francis Molo's had a run there as well. We touched on Moses Sully a bit earlier. He can definitely bring that impact. We saw he give another point of attack for them for me. George Burgess, he's come back to the NRL obviously.
Good rotation forward he is.
I can't fault that decision.
So much passion that bloke.
Oh yeah, we even saw that on the weekend during the Charity Shield match. But yeah, he's definitely someone who can come through and offer a bit for the Dragons. Along with Aaron Woods, he's obviously got a bit of experience that he'll be able to bring to the team. So does Moses Mbai. He's someone that I can see playing in that 14 role. He's really versatile, gives him a lot of options. Whether you think he's a great player or not, I think he'll definitely make the team a lot better.
Yeah, he will.
And especially with some of these young guys going around. And I think you wanted to touch on some of those guys in their trial games.
Yeah, look, Sloan and Amon, they're the ones that stood out for me. I feel like they're guns. They're going to take over the comp with the Dragons. They're going to surprise a lot of people and a lot of teams. You just hope that the forward pack can kind of pave a way for them. Yeah. Because if the forward pack just gets dominated, and the Dragons will get dominated. But they got some good heads in that team. They got a few old Broncos as well. Bird, McCulloch, Griffin building Maguire.
That. Bird is one of those guys I want to talk about because he looked phenomenal in that trial game. He he looks like a good player playing in the back row this season. I'm not sure if they're going to play him on an edge or through the middle. They've obviously got DeBell in there as well. They can play through the middle. I think he'll definitely be a player that's going to hopefully get back to his former self, having a proper preseason under his belt, obviously being out of the game for a couple of years.
No more Maccas.
No, he'll be on that proper lean up a little bit, I think. But yeah, I think it'll be good for the Dragons. They're young guys. They've got good old heads around them this year. They've been able to bring in a couple of... Ben Hunt's no spring chicken anymore. You know, Andrew McCulloch's another one of those guys. They're both really good leaders. They led the club last year. And that's obviously a combination that's worked out pretty well in the past and worked out well at times last year. They did struggle for some consistency. But yeah, Amon's another one of those blokes that I've heard potentially the Dragons may be going after because they have locked down Sullivan and Sloane on future contracts.
Big deals.
But yeah, Moan's one of those that I think he's got another 2 years left on his contract. Yeah. I know the Dolphins were pretty keen to try and suss out if they could get him a year early.
Signing for the Dolphins.
Because Dolphins are one of those teams that one of the teams. Sorry, the Dolphins haven't really been able to find too many spine additions. I think they have young Katoa from the Panthers going there. He can play in the halves.
No, they've prioritised. Well, maybe not prioritised, but they've signed a lot of old experienced blokes, and they're still looking for their marquee signing. I guess Ponga's a guy they're looking at, but they're gonna need some guns.
We've talked about Ponga and Walsh, and it's hard to see them. It is obviously going to be difficult to be able to get them to come to the club, but a player like Armone, if he stays at the Dragons, the three of those guys, they're players that that older guys want to be coming around and playing with. Yeah. It's similar to what I guess the Panthers had a couple of years ago with their young lot coming through, and even before that, the Tigers having their big four come through the system. Obviously, it didn't quite work out for the Tigers.
Big Aaron Woods.
They weren't really able to keep everyone together, but if the Dragons are able to hold on to these guys, they're definitely players that I think other veterans and other players will want to sign for in free agency. Which, if you'd asked me about 12 months ago, if you'd want to go to the Dragons, sign for the Dragons, you just probably wouldn't feel like you're competing quite as much. But this season, they've got those pieces. They definitely could develop, maybe not this year, but they definitely could be in contention in 2023, 2024. In saying that, I've got them on the edge of the 8. They're one of those teams that could definitely be making finals.
Yep. Next one up. Final game of Super Saturday. Got Melbourne on a demolition run.
Yes, Melbourne. It's hard to knock Melbourne. They're such a well put together team. They've had some.
They've lost a few, haven't they?
I'm starting to think this might be a bit of a last dance situation for the Storm. I don't think they've re-signed Bellamy yet. He still hasn't made a decision on his future. But looking at like the players they're losing in 2023, the players they've lost this season, it's hard to say that the Storm are going to regress because we've been waiting for 2 decades now. they just keep. You thought as soon as those guys kind of left, it'd be downhill, but they've got players there that have been able to step up. Obviously, Pappenhausen was the 3rd or 4th string fullback.
So was Hines, out of nowhere.
Hines, obviously, stand out last year. They've just got, it's the next man up kind of mentality that...
mentality that wins premierships.
Yeah, and they've been so good at turning guys that have failed at other clubs into superstars. And we're on the Storm, turning some of those guys that probably didn't work out at other clubs into guns. We've seen it time and time again. Xavier Coates is one of those guys that I think the same thing will happen. He's looking like he's going to take over Adokar's edge. Yeah. For me, he's probably the favourite to be leading try scorer this season. I think he's got all the tools. He did struggle last year, but that's on the end of a Broncos backline.
It's a team that's not scoring many tries.
Wasn't scoring lots of points.
Now he takes the role of the guy who's one of the most prolific try scorers in history. Could you say that, you reckon, about Adokar? Not yet?
Oh, he's definitely around there. Like, he scored 6 tries in a game last season, so it's hard to say no. And he's definitely up there with the amount of tries he scored. If he can do it at the Bulldogs, definitely moving into that conversation as one of the best of all time. He'll still be chasing Alex Johnson for me for quite a while.
Yeah, he loves his meat pies.
And obviously you got AJ's obviously chasing Ken Irvine. I guess he's a real chance, I reckon, to break that all-time try scorer record.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for
Give
sure.
it a couple more seasons.
Up against the Tigers, who look personally, I think they're going to go downhill. I know you like Hastings, but I don't know.
A lot of people, yourself included, I'm pretty sure you got them as your wooden spooners.
I do indeed.
I don't think they're going to be quite as bad as what everyone's saying. I do like the Hastings addition. I think he's going to be able to free up Luke Brooks a lot.
Yeah,
I'm not sure who's going to get named in the 7 role, but I think Hastings will be the one playing the traditional halfback, kind of organising him around a bit more, hopefully unlocking a bit of Luke Brooks to take on the line. We saw that in the trial game. Luke Brooks had a bit more of a running game, and as soon as he starts running the ball, the Tigers do look a lot more dangerous. And with players like Dane Laurie, who I think will be really good pushing up through the middle, I don't mind the Tigers too much. Like, I'm not saying I think they'll finish in the 8, but I definitely don't have them at wooden spooners. I think they're the favourites at the moment.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I think I've got them finishing around that 13th to 14th area. But yeah, I know. I want to hear your reasons to have them at 16, coming spoon.
Well, I feel like the big one's not having Dewey there, because Dewey was far and away their best player last year, and he's out for the first, how long?
I'm not sure.
Months? It's a while.
I wasn't sure if it was that long, but yeah, he looked electric at times. He looked like their best player at times last year. It'll definitely be interesting when he comes back, how they kind of move forward. They brought in Oliver Gildart over from England. He had some nice touches on the weekend. I think he had 1 or 2 errors as well. But he's someone, if they can get him going, he could definitely be dangerous. We've seen some Pommy guys do pretty well over the last couple of seasons, but
Seems to me like it's almost all resting on Hastings. He did win the Man of Steel award over in England.
Yeah, he can play. Like, there's no question.
How old was he when he debuted? Wasn't he 17 or 18?
He was young. He was probably one of the guys who copped it a little bit coming through. He's no doubt in my mind. He was a talented player, but he lost his head at times. I guess you could say he wasn't probably as calm on the ball as you need your playmakers to be. But from what I've seen so far, he's gone over to England and he's come back. He's much more mature. He knows how to lead a team around the park. Yeah, I think he'll be able to bring up the Tigers a little bit. As I said, I don't see him finishing in the 8, but I see him finishing around that 13th position, avoiding the spoon for mine.
Yeah, well, let's hope all that money pumped into their training facility renovations help.
Yeah, we'll see about that. But yeah, for me, Storm definitely taking out that match. Yep. Yeah, that's another no-brainer. If you're tipping the Tigers, you're probably a delusional Tigers fan at this stage.
You're probably
that's one of those ones. That's one of those ones where you may even have to tip against your own team there, fellas.
No, never. You can't do that. That is criminal.
That's sinful. You can never tip against your own team.
On to
Sunday. Eels Titans.
Yeah, look, I think Eels will be too good. Off the back of that trial against Penrith, where they were unreal.
Eels looking clean. Like, I'm pretty high on the Eels this season. They look like they got the pieces there. Got good young blokes coming up. Dylan Brown, for me, is really coming into his own.
Yeah,
he's taking
big year for him.
Bit of responsibility. He looks like the perfect 1-2 punt, like perfect partner for Mitch Moses, as we were talking about before.
For sure.
You can have those better combinations. I think Mitch Moses and Dylan Brown look like they've got things figured out, and obviously the rest of the team's looking a lot better for it. But yeah, for me, there was times during the trial against the Panthers that they were just running through the middle of them.
Well, they were.
They had people pushing up to the side. The support play was fantastic.
It's not like Penrith played a second team. They had a fair few good
They
players.
had a fair few starters. So if I was the Eels, they're probably the other team. Them and the Sharks, I think, had probably the perfect trial games.
Yeah.
And yeah, Eels are definitely one of the bigger contenders this year for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
They haven't really brought in too many. They've got Bailey Simonson, who we've seen. He's got some talent. He's played for the at the Raiders.
Well, they have all the pieces. They've had the pieces for so many years, but they just haven't taken advantage of it. And like that trial kind of gives us a little idea that maybe this is the year.
Yeah,
finally...
it'll come down to consistency again. It wouldn't have surprised me if they'd made a bit of a run in the finals last year, but I think they have that kind of big play ability. They've got the high ceiling, but at the same time they might not turn up in those big games, which I guess is a bit of a question mark moving forward.
Yeah. Titans, they got some guns. Big day for Fafita.
Oh yeah, you look at last year. They were such an improved team. They got the pieces. Tino, Fafita.
Yeah.
Tino being named captain. Yeah, that's a big inclusion. He's also, I think he just committed to playing for the Kangaroos at the World Cup at the end of the year.
Did he really?
Which I guess is big news if he gets selected.
So
that
he
is.
might not make the team though. That's the thing.
Yeah, there's lots of players. Well, if he doesn't, I'm sure he'll go. He'll have no trouble making, I think, Samoa.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Titans have lost a couple of pieces. We've touched on Fogarty. I think the Titans would have liked to have kept him. However,
Sexton's he's great for that role. He was really good last year.
It does let them move Sexton to halfback, have moved Brimson to 6, and then bring in Jaden Campbell, who looked electric last year.
He was always going to be a good Jaden Campbell.
Yeah.
Obviously, his father, a bit of a legend for the Titans.
Yeah, you definitely see the similarities between him and Preston, his father. But the Titans, they'll be good. They'll be in and around that 8 again. They'll be competing with teams like the Broncos, Dragons, Raiders. I think
that mid pack in the middle.
Mid pack
can be up here if they play well, but also can be down here.
It's a fool's game trying to predict the ladder, but at this stage, I feel like there's that one final spot between the 4 or 5 of those kind of teams around that area. They were also the other team that had their trial cancelled against the Warriors. And that's what I was saying. I think
not ideal,
those combinations probably needed a little bit of time to get worked on. Brimson moving into the halves, that's a big change. But I think they should be all right. They'll definitely be competitive this year. I hope they can knock off a couple of the bigger teams. But yeah, it'll be definitely interesting.
Yeah.
But for mine, Eels are winning this match.
Yeah,
they look so good during a trial, and I know it's a trial game, but yeah, there's some things they'll definitely take into this game, that confidence, and I can't see them losing against the Titans.
Against the Eels?
No, the Eels were beating the Titans. Yeah.
Hey, it's been a long day.
We've been doing this for a while, unfortunately.
We don't want to tell you guys how many hours we spent trying to get these mics working.
Yeah, and how many we'll have some good bloopers as well, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I got the Titans finishing 10th this year, Eels finishing 5th. Both can really move a long way, up or down, honestly.
Oh yeah, definitely. Eels, I'm really high on them. I don't think they'll finish any lower than 5th or 6th. I wouldn't be surprised at all for them to finish in a 4. I think they've got a good chance of that.
Oh, did I say 4?
No, you said 5.
Okay, good.
No, yeah, I was going but yeah, so I've got Eels winning that game. That takes us into our
final game
of the round.
Look, you look at this on paper and you see Cowboys and Bulldogs and you think, gee, this is 2 rubbish teams. But I think you agree with me. I think this will be a really interesting game.
Oh, I really like this game. I think it's the perfect game for both of these teams to start off with. We'll start on the Cowboys. They lost Francis Molo, Corey Jensen, I guess, the 2 guys.
A couple of depth players, and Molo's
a really good quality player. Jensen definitely provided a lot of depth for him. They brought in Peter Hiku. I think he's great. He's really underrated. He'll be able to, I think, Not sure who they've got on that wing, but outside Hiku. But I think Hiku will have a number of try assists this year, like he always does.
He does like to hold the ball that bloke though.
Yeah.
I can remember that from the old super coach.
Jermaine Tanua-Brown's another one that they've brought in.
Breakout candidate, isn't he?
He's one guy that I think could really have an outstanding year through the middle and on the edge. He can play in the forwards pretty much anywhere.
And he's a big boy.
He's big. He can move as well.
Obviously, then Hamaso as well.
Yeah, so
is an elite athlete.
Then we're looking at some of those guys. Hamaso, he looked phenomenal against the Broncos.
Just tore them apart, quite frankly.
Speed kills is what you've got to see.
Yeah.
It's looking like he's going to play fullback this season, which shifts Holmes into the centres. Sorry. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Valentine goes. It's a different role for him. He looked pretty good on the weekend. He had a couple of really good touches.
Wasn't he? Was he on Stags?
Possibly. Oh. For a bit, I think maybe, but I can't confirm that. I'm not 100. I can't remember to be honest. It was a little while ago.
Too many days ago.
But yeah, I think it's a good change for him.
Yeah.
For me, it looks like Townsend's got the starting halfback jersey cemented, and he's looking really good. He had some really good touches against the Broncos.
Yeah.
Again, it was against the Broncos team that looked like they didn't really want to be there.
It reminded me of 2020. It was shocking.
Yeah, so from a Broncos perspective, I'm putting that down to just a trial game. Didn't get up for it. Didn't get up for the.
Really hope.
Didn't get up for the wet weather, but
how can you not get up for the wet weather?
Yeah, exactly. But the Cowboys, from a Cowboys perspective, you're taking a lot of confidence out of that.
Huge. It looks like Dearden might just get the edge over Drinkwater. Although Drinkwater's pretty good.
I don't know how Drinkwater cannot be in the starting 13. Whether or not he gets a position on the bench, in my mind, going into the year, he had to be either 1 or 6.
He's too good for the bench, isn't he?
Yeah, look.
How many try assists did he have against Brisbane?
He had 2 or 3. He had a 40-20, I believe.
Yeah.
He played phenomenally, and yet I think it's still looking like the Cowboys are leaning towards Dearden, which Dearden's a good player. He's coming through.
But he does have potential.
And this isn't a knock on Dearden either, but Scotty Drinkwater, he looked like he was Cowboys' best player last year. Up there, definitely. I really thought it was going to be between Townsend and Dearden, with Drinkwater having that 6th spot. But yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, but I think it's trending in the direction that Dearden will get that starting jersey. And I'm not sure if Drinkwater fits onto the bench. They've got Ruben Cotter there. Obviously, he can play 9, Spell Robson. And it's looking like Tamalolo is going to go back to playing lock, playing big minutes, which is I think is really good signs for
because he just wasn't as good in the front row, was
he? I think there was that quote that was released. I think it was Dean Young the other day. He's at his best when he's playing those big minutes, gets his motor going, and he churns out that work. He's a phenomenal athlete. So saying this, I've got the Cowboys finishing 16th. I've had nothing but the raps for them, but look, I think they just, for me, there's something about them. They just don't look like they've got either the points in them. I know they did against the Broncos, but I don't think they've answered enough questions from last season going into this year. I'm not sure. I think you've got them a bit higher than I do.
Yeah, I got them in 11.
Yeah, so it's a big difference. There's something about the Cowboys. I just don't think they've answered enough questions from last season.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised to see them finish bottom.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they get everything going well, they could be, around the 12 kind of spot.
Well, they're another one of those teams who just hasn't signed a whole bunch of players. It's a fair way to go using all their youth players, but I don't know how good they're going to be.
That's definitely something.
They will be okay. It's interesting as well because I saw Bulldogs, Broncos, and Cowboys. They all play each other in the first 2 or 3 rounds. I think Broncos have Bulldogs round 2, Cowboys round 3.
I think it might be something like that.
So one of these teams are going to have a real good chance to start the season really well.
Yeah. Well, on the flip side to the Cowboys, who haven't brought in a lot of players, we got the Bulldogs, who probably have been the heaviest recruiters this off-season.
Big clean out.
And definitely into 2023. They've had a lot of players leave. Just to list a couple, Nick Kotrick, Nick Meaney, Renu Fatoni, Will Hopewade, Adam Elliott, Lachlan Lewis, Dylan Napa and Chris Smith all have left the club. But they've definitely done a big recruit. They've brought in Matt Burton, which we all know how talented he is, what he could do at the Panthers last year, and he'll get a chance in the halves this year, which is...
He'll be the key guy, I think.
Yeah, for me, for the Bulldogs to do anything this year, I think Burton's the key. He's got to really step up.
There's only so much you can do, though.
Yeah. He definitely played kind of that second fiddle when he got the chance at the Panthers, but that's because you've got those guys there. For me, Burton's the one who's got to step up. And if he does that, he can unleash the guys like Addo-Carr, Dufty.
Well, there's so many weapons in that team, but they're just going to have to figure out a way to play well together. Because I feel like they're all signed as individuals, and it'll be big to see whether they can come together as a team.
Yeah, I'll just read out. These are just a couple of the notable additions they've got.
Few of the many.
You got Burton, Addo-Carr, Davida Pangai, Dufty, Paul Vaughan, Braden Burns, Max King. All those guys there, they're solid football players. They can do a very good job. They got pumped by the Sharks in the trial game, 36.
Yeah, pretty
Again,
cool.
Hopefully for the Bulldogs' sake, it's just, a trial game. They're still working out those combinations, which I think it will take some time. Burton scored a nice try, very reminiscent of a lot of his touches last year in the Panthers. But yeah, Addo-Carr looked like he brought a lot of energy, but he struggled to get involved.
Yeah, there's only so much a winger can do. That's the thing.
Yeah, I'm looking through this team and I'm struggling to find who their voice is, who's that leader, who's going to take charge. It looked like Addo-Carr was doing a lot of the talking, but he goes back out onto the wing.
Yeah,
so
it's
tough being a winger to do that. But yeah, they're going to need a couple of players to step up, definitely.
Where do you have them finishing this year?
I've got them 15th. I've got them just above the Cowboys. However, I think this is a perfect round one game for both these teams. They've got a really good chance. I've got the Cowboys winning. I just think it's going to take a little bit of time for the Bulldogs to get those connections going. I think they may struggle. I know they're tossing up between Avarillo and Flanagan at the moment. It looked like Flanagan's well on the outer. He only had garbage time minutes at the back of that trial game against the Sharks.
I think it's Avarillo's job, I reckon.
Avarillo is definitely a really talented player. I really like him. But yeah, the attack looked clunky. They couldn't really get too much going. He's obviously going to also have to step up if he's playing in the 7 jersey, which it's looking like.
Yep.
He'll definitely have to step up and really lead the team. But yeah, I think it'll take some time for the Bulldogs to really be in contention. They've obviously got a lot of good recruits coming in 2023 as well.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot there for Bulldogs fans to be keen about. They got Reid Marnie, and I think he could be the guy they look to.
Yeah, come 2023, they've got some really good signings, and if you're a Bulldogs fan, the future's looking bright. After a couple of really tough years, it's one of the brighter kind of outlooks.
You can only go up from here.
Exactly.
You'd hope. If you're not going up, you're in some serious strife.
Yeah. Well, I've got them finishing 15th, so it's not up by much, but
it's better than 16th.
It's better than last year. That finishes the matchup previews. I just want to get you a quick couple of predictions for the season. So we've gone through a bit of our ladder, but who have you got winning the minor premiership this year?
Oh, well, I said it earlier and I'll say it again. I think Roosters. I think they got a gun coach. They got a gun team. They got a gun system. They got no injuries at the moment, I believe. I think they're pretty...
Suwali's going to miss the start.
True that.
Yeah, so they got one or two, I think, but they're not as heavily affected
not
early on.
Nearly as bad as
if they can stay healthy, they'll definitely be in and around there.
Yeah.
For me, I think Storm are looking, like Munster in particular, he's looking lean. I think he's off the beers at the moment.
Beers, etc.
And etc. Yes. But yeah, he's looking lean. He's looking real quick. I think he'll have one of the best seasons. I think the Storm, off the back of Munster and Jerome Hughes especially, will take out the minor premiership this year. I'm not sure if they'll go all the way to the premiership. I do like the Roosters. I think come finals time they'll have been able to put everything together. But yeah, we've already touched on our wooden spooners. Dally M's the other one.
Look, it depends on injury, but if Tommy Turbo isn't injured, I just don't see how he's not winning it. He carries Manly, quite frankly.
Yeah, like if he has anything similar to what he had last season, it's
far and away the best player.
That was one of the best individual seasons of all time.
And he missed the first.
And he missed the first couple of rounds, but that almost helped him. It showed like how much Manly did really rely on him.
Yeah.
But I was just talking Munster up. I think he's someone that we could definitely throw in that conversation. My only issue is the Storm. They have a bit of a habit of, I guess, taking some of those votes the way it's set up. They take a couple of votes off each other.
That is right.
However, we've seen players, obviously Smith, Cronk in the past, be able to win the award just because the Storm very often do take the 3 points and sometimes the 2 and the 1 as well. So
they do. Quite often.
They're quite a strong team. But yeah, Cleary, if he can, that's another one, stays healthy, is a big one. I would have had Latrell, but I think it'll be close. Latrell missing the first couple of weeks, that's something we didn't touch on. Blake Taaffe. Yeah, Blake Taaffe coming in. He's a good player.
He's good. But young player to watch, in fact.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Latrell will come back into that squad. I think he'll be in and around the votes, but
not quite there.
Missing those first couple of weeks, I think you'll hurt him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to look past Tommy Trbojevic.
Rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year. For me, if Ezra plays enough games, I've touched on it earlier.
Yeah.
I think I've got across how highly I rate the kid.
Yeah.
Well, he's our age, but how highly I rate him. He's so talented. But there's Lachlan Ilias, obviously. If he gets it going, he's definitely.
If Souths go well, he'll well be.
He's obviously one of the big reasons where South will finish this year. Do you have any other names you'd want to throw in that?
Oh, look, I think Ezra gets the job come week 4 or 5, and I think he'll stay there. And
I think it's the same as Sam Walker last year. Didn't start the season, but once he gets the job, it'll be clear that the talent that he is and could follow suit.
Yeah, look, if you have Supercoach and Ezra gets a start, I recommend you get him in.
Another Supercoach plug. And
not sponsored.
We'll finish it off with top try scorer.
Top try scorer.
We'll have one more after this, but top
the
try
premiership. It's between AJ and Coates, and I think my reasoning behind AJ not winning this is the fact that Souths only really have one gun attacking half this year. Ilias isn't quite there yet, so I feel like the defence will make sure to kind of smother Cody Walker's side, and that's Alex Johnston's
side. But that's what teams have been trying to do for the last 3 years. It's always been that left side attack. Everyone knows how potent the Rabbitohs are down that side, and teams still haven't been able to stop them yet. It's obvious that Johnston's going to be up and around there, but yeah, it definitely comes down to how
close.
Obviously, no Reynolds takes away from him a bit. I think Coates will be up there.
With Hughes and Munster as the halves, and Pappenhausen as a fullback, Coates will just be getting fed tries, I reckon.
Trbojevic,
obviously.
He was very close last year, and that was missing games. If he has a full season, I wouldn't be surprised to see him Garrick with Trbojevic playing, Saab and Garrick look like they could score heaps of tries. They're probably my picks so far.
Yeah. How about Premier? Who do you reckon? Premiers.
I've been changing it up a bit.
I think it will be changing as the season goes on as well. So you got.
I did really like the Eels, but I don't think they'll get done come crunch time. I did mention it a little bit earlier. I probably think Roosters come finals could be a good shout. And value for money at the moment if you're getting on a bit of a punt. So that's the way I'm leaning at this stage.
Yeah.
But any of those top 7 teams could definitely be in around there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
For you, you're sticking with the Roosters, minor premiers and premiers.
I think so. It is tough, but I feel like they're the team that wants it most. I think they got the squad to do it and the coach to do it, and I think it's their year to come back. As painful as it is for all us people who aren't fans of the Roosters, I think they will.
Oh, it's better than Manly winning, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Storm.
It's better than Manly or the Storm winning. And I'll have one last one. Here's just Smokey this year.
Smokey?
Yeah, who do you think's going to do exceed expectations?
You mean teams?
Yeah, in teams, not just players.
Dragons, I think, because I feel like personally I had them bottom 4 like easily. I thought they were going to be rubbish, but now after that trial against the Rabbits, I feel like they got so much electricity.
Yeah, Dragons obviously. I feel like they're one of those teams that could have a really high ceiling this season. That was going to be my pick, but I'll change it up. I won't go Eels because I've already touched on them, but yeah, Sharks. I think they could definitely win the premiership this year. And whilst their expectations are pretty high, I guess they're probably 7th or 6th favourite for the premiership at the moment. So as far as value for money goes, they're probably a bit of a smoky. But yeah,
that'll be good. Good season. Get keen.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think this could be one of the best seasons of the last couple of years. Couple of cracking matchups in round 1.
Yeah,
and
it's a brilliant round.
Perfect way to start the year, and we'll hopefully keep it. Hopefully, this won't be the last podcast we do. Hopefully, there'll be a couple more throughout the season.
You would hope. We got big plans. We got guests we want to get on. We got segments we want to do. We're going to make it as engaging as possible. Get some voting going.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Hopefully, we'll be able to do something weekly, but we haven't quite sussed it out yet. Hopefully, the setup improves a little bit, as you can see if you're watching us on YouTube.
It is a pretty nice TV though, and it's
a
pretty nice logo.
It's a nice little bit in the background. I think it touches off pretty nicely.
And aesthetic. It's not quite a podcast room. It is a gym where we
man cave. But nah, look, stay tuned for the rest of the season. Hopefully, we can get a couple of episodes out weekly, and our preseason rant isn't the last.
Hey guys, I just want to say on behalf of Jaden and I, thanks for watching the video. Thanks for listening to the podcast. It was a long one today. We'll definitely shorten them, I think, and we'll come up with so many more ideas and stuff to entertain you guys, and we'll take any recommendations. If it wasn't for the GoPro running out of storage space, we would have recorded a better outro, although that wasn't to be. So we'll be back and better next week. Cheers.